Are you serious?
Yeah. So, a few minutes of the podcast, if you're just joining us, is not going to be recorded.
Yeah.
But we're glad you're here anyway. Thanks for coming in. 7 or 8 minutes into this session.
So Facebook Live got a little bonus,
Facebook Live
VIP bonus.
Everybody who's tuning in live, I see Dave Powell on there. What's up, Dave Powell? Everybody who's tuning in live, yeah, they got a little bit extra. Unfortunately, I forgot to hit the record button.
All right. So what's our topic today, George? Relationships. Do we need to talk about relationships today?
Absolutely. That's the number one topic.
All right. Let's touch on that. You know, something that me and you know absolutely nothing about. So.
Yeah, that's something else. You know, honestly, that I've struggled with since I've come home, man. Since I've come home, like I don't know what I want. Like sometimes I think I want this, sometimes I think I want that. Emotionally, like my maturity is not there as far as being ready to be into a relationship. I think other times I think it's exactly where it needs to be. It's just that's tough, man. As far as the reentry thing goes,
It's super tough, especially coming out of incarceration. We're looking for compassion. We're looking to not be lonely. We're looking for validation. We're just looking to have somebody near us because we've been so long without it. I mean, the only relationship I've ever really had in my life, I was with the same woman on and off for 14 years, through addiction, through incarceration. And it just, there was a lot of damage caused by the stuff that I did. And it just made it to where I didn't know what a healthy relationship looks like. And for me, now getting out of prison, I thought, okay, well, I'm single now, so I can do some dating. I can see lots of different women, and I can try to find what I want. And what I found was that along the way, I was causing harm because I didn't know what I wanted, and I wasn't dating with intention. I was just kind of dating to have a good time, and I was hurting people. And a big part of my recovery is not causing any more harm because that's what I'd done my entire life was hurt people. I don't want to hurt people anymore.
right?
So my thought was, okay, well, I'll just start dating one chick exclusively, and that'll be the cure to it. So I tried to force myself into a relationship that I wasn't ready for, and then ended up almost immediately knew that wasn't the right choice. So I had to have that conversation with a woman and caused more harm there. Right. And it just seems like everywhere, every direction I turn, I'm causing harm. And I don't know what to do. I've never had a healthy relationship. I don't know what that looks like. And I'm just trying to figure it out. In recovery, they have an exercise where you write out your sane, sound ideal of what a healthy relationships looks like, and then you try to look at your past relationships, and moving forward, you try to work toward what that sane, sound ideal of a relationship looks like, and try to get away from that old behavior. And it's hard.
No,
it's hard, especially being a man, being lonely, having gone so long without a woman, and trying to be a man of integrity and good character, and walk a spiritual path, and at the same time being a man. And it's just hard to navigate that. It's not easy.
No, it's definitely not. And like we talk about integrity, right? When it comes to being in a relationship, when I was on drugs and in my addictions and all that, I fully embraced that. Same thing with recovery. I fully embrace it. Right? When I get into things, I go super hard. And I think with the relationship side of things, I can't give it that attention. I can't give it my all like I give the rest of my life. And right. I feel like that person's not getting everything that they should be getting, everything that they deserve. And I'm unable to give that. So if I feel like I'm shortchanging somebody, I feel like I'm operating outside of my integrity. And it's just, it's a very difficult path to navigate.
It's a dance because on one hand, we don't know what we want, and we're trying to figure it out. But on the other hand, somebody else that we're seeing might know exactly what they want.
Right.
And is it fair to necessarily just kind of dip our toe in the water to see if it's what we want? Well, when we're unsure and insincere.
Right.
But I don't know if I'm ever going to know what I want. Because it's constantly changing. I'm constantly evolving. I'm constantly wanting different things. What I wanted 5 years ago is not the same thing that I want today. And it probably won't be the same thing that I want for a year from now. Because as I continue to grow, as I continue to evolve, as I continue to develop my character, what I'm looking for changes. And trying to find somebody that's on that same page is difficult. But then again, is it fair to put expectations on somebody else to meet maybe an unrealistic expectation that I'm setting?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what a healthy relationship's supposed to look like. I just know I don't want to hurt anybody along the way.
So, welcome to Outlaws to Advocates, the podcast where we have absolutely none of the answers.
But what we'll do is we'll talk about how we're trying to figure it out.
We are a question-based podcast. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to give a big shout-out to our sponsor, Freebird Auto.
Freebird Auto.
Oh, Jerry from Freebird.
We love you, Jerry.
Jerry, he told us he actually had some people reach out that listened to the podcast.
Excellent.
And so, yeah, so it's pretty cool. If you guys haven't heard of Freebird Auto, www.freebirdauto.com, 602-643-9999. Jerry runs it. Jerry Trafney does amazing work with people with credit challenges, with backgrounds like Jesse and I have, and probably most of you guys and girls. It's a great place to go. You get treated like a human. You get a great deal. Both Jesse, myself, Jeremy,
and many others.
Many others. Like the day I walked out of prison, Jerry obviously is a good friend of mine. He gave me a car. He gave me that Kia. And he said, "Hey, man, get on your feet." And so I got on my feet, and I was able to purchase a car from him. And then even then, when that car went back to him, he re-gifted it to Eric, who just finished 26 years, to help him get on his feet.
Absolutely.
And now Eric's up and running. And whatever he can do to help, he does. And I joke around about the sponsor thing, obviously, but I do like to, I shouldn't say obviously, but we joke around about him being a sponsor. But he really is a sponsor, man, because he's helping so many people out. It's so awesome to see what he does. I told him, he was talking about me working down there. I'm all, man, I'm sorry, bro. I can't just sell cars. He's like, I don't just sell cars. We change lives. We get, but he believes it, and it's just, it's so awesome to see the passion behind it. Cause you talk about that integrity, right?
Yeah.
And that integrity is there with him, in what he does. And it is super important. And I didn't mean it as he just sells cars, but, he let me know that my choice of words wasn't going to sit well with him. But yeah, so the relationship thing's tricky, man. What do you think the thing you've struggled with the most is that the thing you've struggled with the most since you've been home?
Absolutely. Women. It's been number one. Absolutely. And it's been number one my entire life. And I think a lot of it stems and is rooted in, growing up, I was insecure, had low self-esteem. I've shared this before. I was the fat kid. I was overweight. I wanted to fit in. I got in a lot of fights. Always wanted the cute girls. Never really seemed to get their attention the way that I liked. And as I grew older and I got into drugs and hustling and the lifestyle, all of a sudden I was getting that attention that I never had. All of a sudden I was getting that stuff. And that was a big part of my addiction, was that. And, coming out of prison, having been away from companionship or women for so long, myself, I yearn for that. I yearn for that compassion. And it's like, it's hard because deep down, I want a good woman and I want a good relationship and I want a wife and I want a family and I want all these things, but I don't know what I want. I know I want that, but I don't know who I want. So it's trying to find that without being selfish and without manipulating and being deceitful to get other things, like sex, which is what I would do in the past. I would get what I wanted from them and then I would discard them like they were trash. And that's how I would get my validation. If I could get intimacy from a lot of different women, that would make me feel better about myself. And that would make me feel like more of a man. Even though when I reflected on it later in life, I felt terrible for it because I could see it for what it really was. But in the moment, it made me feel like a man. And I got to be careful, getting out of prison, walking a spiritual life in recovery, not to get caught in those old habits and start reverting back to seeking that validation through manipulation and deceit, just to get those feelings of gratification when I'm not looking for anything more than that from that person. Right. So I need to be really careful about who and when and how I approach, dating and relationships. And it's difficult. It's hard. It's really something that I'm struggling with. But, like we were talking about vulnerability, that's why for me, it's so important that I have people like you, people like Jeremy, friends in my life that I can be open with, because I can fall victim to living in a world of fantasy and make believe and denial and rationalization, self justification, and I'll start believing my bullshit. And if I keep it in and I start developing this appetite for this elusive behavior, you know, and I keep it in, eventually that appetite's going to get so overpowering that I'm not going to be able to satisfy it. And it's going to make it that much more difficult for me to find a meaningful relationship, because I'm going to be so used to, you know, having more and always wanting more. You know, my grandmother said something to me before she died. You know, rest in peace, Grandma Clee. You know, she said, you know what the problem is with people these days? Her and my grandpa were married 50 years. She said, people are never satisfied with what they have. They're always looking for more. You know, and her and my grandpa were married 50 years. And how true is that? You know, how many times in our lives have we been presented with something well and something great, and it just wasn't enough for us? We just wanted more. You know, I don't want that to be the case. You know, I don't want more. I'm okay with just having enough. You know, so I don't know, but yeah, it's definitely a struggle for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely a difficult path. Like obviously, we both work in the recovery field, right? I, I I'm able to go back into the prisons.
Hopefully, I'll be able to soon.
It's coming, man. It's coming. We're working on it.
I'm not giving up on you. You're going to keep pushing.
It's coming.
Get me in there.
But like all the stuff that we get to do and the difficult conversations we get to have every day, and the stories that we get to hear, and just be able to get to be there for people. For me, that's like my passion. You know, for both of us, I can say I can speak for both of us here, and a lot of people would find that difficult. That's the easy for me. That's the easy part. The difficult part for me is life, my own life. You know, like you talked about managing relationships, figuring out what's real, what's not real, what's how to treat other people. Like in my personal life, like where boundaries are, like all the stuff that we're able to guide other people with. I'm having to work with my friends and, you know, the other people that I have in my life to help me figure out what my baseline is, what my boundary is, what's healthy for me, you know, and I 100% cannot do that without vulnerability, without saying, hey man, I'm struggling. Hey man, this is going on. Hey man, this is what I did. What do you think about that? Even though I know if it was wrong or I think it was wrong, and getting that feedback. And don't get me wrong, the good stuff too. The good stuff's easy to talk about. It's great to talk about, but
Yeah.
trying to talk about those struggles and those wins, and I haven't slept in my bed. I have a super comfortable bed. I've slept in it once in the past 4 weeks because I'm sleeping on that couch. Because it's probably because it's small and it reminds me of the bed I slept on for the last 10 years. It's a hell of a lot more comfortable. I'll tell you that much. But the fact that I can't go sleep in a bed, like what's going on there, you know, and just trying to adjust between relationships, getting used to living out here, even just getting used to being alone, being in this apartment sometimes by myself. We're not really by ourselves. Well, we're definitely never by ourselves when we're incarcerated.
Right.
And then adapting to that, you know, it's a beautiful struggle. I am 100% not complaining here. The point I'm trying to make is that how powerful vulnerability is and how necessary it is for us to be willing to be vulnerable and to have people in our lives who deserve for us to be vulnerable, or for us to be vulnerable in front of. Because
Absolutely.
vulnerability without that can be harmful.
Yeah, without trust, it can be harmful. Absolutely.
It can be harmful. You know, if you got the wrong people.
Hearing the wrong stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And like something I talk about a lot is anybody that knows me that knows we stay busy. We do a lot of stuff, podcast work, business, you know, volunteering, all that stuff. I love it. I love it. I don't feel most of the time, 95% of the time, I don't feel overwhelmed from it. That's my place. That's where I want to be at. That's what I enjoy doing. And I have people that don't really spend a lot of time with me sometimes take a glimpse into my life. Say, hey, man, you should slow down. It just happened today. Somebody I barely know. Hey, man, you might want to slow down. You're doing a lot. Why?
Yeah, why?
Like, what's your reason for telling me to slow down. I met with a lady today who's I've known for quite a few months, and since I've been home, quite a few months, like 4. But I've known her for a while. We have really good conversations. We have similar energy, and she was telling me the same thing. She's like, "Hey, man, people at work telling me to slow down, and I'm doing too much, and they want you to get to their speed. They don't want me to slow down, right? They want me to go at their speed and do what they're doing. You know, when they're saying, "Oh, you can't get that done," oh, you can't get that done.
Yeah.
That's got what you can do has got nothing to do with me. Now, if it's coming from you, like the people in my life that are close, they give me extra shit to do. Right? Jerry calls me. He's like, "Hey, let's go break down a wall," or "Hey, help me pick up these cars." Like, he's not telling me to slow down.
Yeah.
They see that's how we perform. Right?
Yeah.
This is what we do. This is the space we're in, and that takes another amount of willingness to be vulnerable, because if I keep telling these people that are slightly in my life and not listening to them and just kind of shining them on because you're not really in my life, I have to be willing to lose that person from my life. You understand what I'm saying? No?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I do. I think that unsolicited advice can be a form of just, in a lot of cases, somebody just being a little negative, or maybe has something going on with themselves. You know, it's one thing if you ask me for my opinion on something, but I'm going to give you my opinion anyway because we're friends. But if it was somebody that maybe I wasn't that close to, that just decided that they were going to push
That's what I'm talking about.
just kind of throw their opinion at me, then to me it's almost like, what's the reasoning behind it?
Absolutely.
And I would probably just, thank them and appreciate that and just keep pushing, just doing me.
No, I went and met with, I went and toured a recovery center, and I met with a buddy of mine, Ron, and he's like, "Man, I love what you're doing. Keep your foot on the gas." And when I hear that stuff I'm like, that's my people, right? People who can see the value in what we're doing, people who see the drive, who see the determination, because not everybody can do what we're doing.
Right.
They have other talents. They do stuff differently. But, working a 16-hour day, getting up at 3:30 in the morning, doing all the stuff that we get to do, that's not for everybody, and that's okay. But I'm not going to tell you not to do yoga because I can't bend over because I'm 50 and my back's jacked. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter about, for me, man, it comes about to a willingness to be vulnerable, find out what your purpose is, what your passion is, and cruise. I went and spoke at the Second Chance Center at graduation on Thursday. And I still don't know why, but whoever was supposed to speak that day didn't make it or canceled the day before. I had something to do. I don't know what happened. Hopefully everything's good. But I told them I'd fill in. And when they gave me the little flyer above my name, it said "Dream versus Reality." I don't know what that meant. I don't know. Maybe that was the other speaker's topic or whatever. But when I went up there to speak, I brought that up.
Yeah.
There is no difference. There is no dream versus reality. If you're not living your dream, that's on you. If you don't wake up every day and live your dream, that's your fault. You're doing something that doesn't align with your dreams. Chase that dream every single day. Get up and do it.
Absolutely.
And I told the guys, because you hear it all the time, you were one of them to a point. Worried about the money on that first job when we get out. You're like, I'll go over here. I don't know if I'm going to make money, this, that, and the other. Don't worry about the money. Worry about doing what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Because we do what makes us happy every day. We don't have bad days. You
can't put a price on it.
No, absolutely not. But in addition to that, the money definitely comes because you perform at a high level. You're doing what you love. You're not showing up to work. You get to go to work that day.
Do it anyway.
And do it anyway.
Do it free.
Dude, I was telling somebody today, like, I am shocked that I get to make money doing the stuff that I do. Because this is stuff that I would have done regardless. Working in this community, being around these people, just being a part of change. Like, it feels so good. It feels absolutely amazing. And I get paid for it.
Right.
It's phenomenal, man. Super grateful.
Well, the thing is, anybody listening to this podcast can do it too. Anybody that's struggling, anybody that's dealing with substance use, anybody that's coming out of incarceration. I mean, just from making a couple simple decisions to do stuff different, maybe chase your dreams, maybe find your purpose and go after it. Anybody can do that.
Who's living their dream right now? Put I am in the chat.
I am.
Let's see how many I ams come up.
I am.
We're going to get some I ams in the chat?
I think we will. I think we will.
At
some point.
I see.
At some point.
Where's the I ams in the chat?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully everybody's out there dream chasing. But we lost a few minutes on the front end. We're at 20 minutes now. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. Ann Portillo, thanks for the triple hearts. We love it. Travis Kahn, how you doing?
Absolutely.
Good to see everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Love all you guys. Like Jesse said, if you're struggling, we're here. 480-527-6326. Call me, text me anytime. Is your cell phone still connected?
It is.
Okay, cool.
It is. It is.
Awesome. All right, Jesse will give out his number, and then we're going to go ahead and get out of here.
All right, George.
You guys have a good day, man. Love you guys.
All right.